Hi, I'm Rachel Tessman from StampYourArtOut.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US, and today I'd like to share with you some outside-the-box ideas that I created using the contents of the July 2019 Paper Pumpkin Kit from Stampin' Up! Titled On My Mind. I love these kits because they come straight to my mailbox each month and contain everything I need to make fun, creative cards and gifts. I also receive a publication with directions, tips, photos, a ruler for measuring, details about the kit, and a link to a how-to video to help guide me in assembling. And the best part, I receive an exclusive stamp set and a mini ink pad that I can use over and over again, even after the consumables for my kit are used up. A clear block, which was included free with my first kit for mounting and using my stamps, and my scissors are the only extra supplies I need to provide. Paper Pumpkin kits are only $22 plus tax per month in the US. Shipping is included. You control which months you get your kits, and there's no commitment or obligation. This month's kit contains supplies to make 9 cards, 3 of 3 eclectic designs that introduce subscribers to a variety of coordinating Stampin' Up! Products. In fact, there are 3 suites of products that when paired up with this kit give subscribers so many more creative options. The enclosed flyer names those suites so that you can find them in the annual catalog or online store, and they show 3 ways to combine these products with this kit. These kits are produced through Stampin' Up!, so the colors, images, and supplies always coordinate with many other Stampin' Up! Products. I'll be using some of these as I share my alternate projects today. You can find the items I use listed below and linked to my online store. You can also look below for links to learning more about Paper Pumpkin kits, starting your subscription through me so that I can spoil you with exclusive ideas, gifts, and prizes, joining my Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook where you can see even more alternate project ideas shared daily, and if you're watching my video on YouTube, a link to my website where I've shared photos of the projects I'm going to be showing you today. Since March of 2013, when Paper Pumpkin first began, I've been creating and sharing alternate projects so Paper Pumpkin subscribers can see that there's so many more possibilities, so many more options with those kit supplies. So that's what I'll be doing in this video. I'm excited to create with you, so let's get started. Before we begin, you'll notice throughout the video that I'm substituting these products for some other ones. The mini ink pad, I use the larger ink pad just for ease. It's a lot quicker. I'll also be using my ergonomic blocks. They fit better in my hands, and I have a variety of them. And then instead of the glue dots that come in the kit, I like to use these glue dots and the snail adhesive, again, just for quicker application. So you don't need these items, but that's what you'll see me using. The first project that I'm sharing with you today is a fun little treat container that is tubular shaped on the top and kind of a box shape on the bottom. It's self-closing and it's really adorable. We're going to be using most of the supplies for this project from the kit. So the ink, the stamps, the twine, the branch, the little label, the sequins, the paper clip, and one of the card bases. I'll also, though, be bringing in the paper snips, which is a tool that everyone needs for this kit. Some tear and tape adhesive. It's a really nice, strong adhesive. I'll be using the Stampin' Pierce mat. This is going to be great for putting underneath my paper when I'm stamping on it because it gives the stamps a little bit extra cushion. And then I'll be using a paper trimmer with a scoring blade. In most of my past videos, I've had a surface on my table area that had a cushion underneath it, so I didn't really bother too much with bringing out the Stampin' Pierce mat. But I have a recovered surface, and it's nice and hard now. And so I wanted to introduce you to this product that's actually great for the Paper Pumpkin subscribers. The photopolymer stamps do not have that foam between the rubber part and the block, and so sometimes you don't get that full image unless you have a little bit of a cushion, which the red rubber stamps provide because they do have that foam in between. So this is a great thing to have underneath your paper when you're going to stamp with it. So we'll just ink up our stamp like this just by pressing it onto our ink pad and lifting up that ink and then stamping it onto our label. And just for comparison purposes, here is a cling mount stamp. You can see that there's foam in between there, unlike the stamps that are photopolymer. It's not a mandatory product to have, but it does help in case you have trouble stamping. Now we're going to bring in our card base and our trimmer, and we're going to trim 4.5 inches this direction, and then we'll rotate it so that we have the embossed portion of our card more in there, and we're going to cut at 6 inches this way. Okay, I've already done that with this piece, so I've got it to 4.5 by 6, and now we're going to put some score lines in there. We're going to put a score line at 2 inches, and then again at 4 inches, and then we're going to rotate it, and on the embossed portion, which is going to be the base of our box, we're going to score at 1 inch. And now we have to bring it back this way again, and we're going to score at 1 inch just from this line up. So we'll start at that 1 inch mark and score there, and then we'll bring it to 3 inches and we will score right there. Okay, now we can move this out of the way, and we're going to bring in our tear and tape adhesive and our bone folder. I forgot to mention a bone folder. Bone folders are awesome. Helps to give those creases a nice crisp look. So we're going to crease on those 2 long score lines. Again, this is the bottom of the box here. So let's go ahead and tape. Let's add some tear and tape adhesive to the whole length of this. And it's awesome because you just tear it off when you're done with it. So we place that on there. We're going to burnish it, make sure it's really pressed in there well, and then we'll peel off the backing. Now if we're going to use designer paper for this type of box, which is a little bit thinner, you don't need the tear and tape adhesive. I've used just the snail adhesive for thinner papers, but because we have a thicker type of cardstock for the, the card base is thicker, we want to make sure that we are giving it a really good strong adhesive. Okay, now we have score lines down here. They're hard to see. They're even hard to see for me. But we're going to go right up to this little mark here, which is that 1 inch score line. And here is the score line right here. And we're going to cut angled inward for each of those sides. And we'll just pull that out and remove it. And then we're going to just squish it this way. And we're going to do the same thing in this direction. So we'll just kind of angle cut up to where that score line intersects the 1 inch horizontal score line right there. And it does not have to be like super perfect, by the way. So here is the base of our box. Now we're going to add some adhesive on 2 of those sections. And it really doesn't matter which of those 2 sections. You could use the tear and tape here, but we're going to go ahead and just slather on the snail. So we've got adhesive there, got it on my table too. And then we're going to put some on one of the tabs that's folded back like this. So 3 of your tabs have adhesive on them. Now we're not bending in this direction here. We don't want any score lines coming through here except just naturally occurring because of the way the base of the box is folding here. So the one that does not have any adhesive is going to fold in first, and then you're going to bring that opposite one over to meet it. And then with the help of your bone folder in through the top of your box, you're just going to press those 2 tabs together. So we're just kind of pressing against there to give it some pressure to bond those 2 together. And then we can bring in 1 tab and another tab and do the same thing again. This time we can stand it up and really make sure that it's pressed on there nice. Okay? So I call it a self-closing box because seriously, when it is, cinched shut at the top, it holds really well. And it stands because of the square base. But when you open it up, all you have to do is just pry it like this, and you can put like lotion in there, which is perfect. A lot of people are making these for lotion containers. The tip of the lotion is here, and then the squeeze tube part, it goes up this way. Anyways, they're fun containers for anything. You could put candies or whatever in there. So now let's take our stamped tag, and we're going to take this branch and we're going to add it to our tag with one of these sequins. So let's grab one of the sequins here. And it doesn't matter which one, but because this is such a small tag, I think the sequins are going to help hold the branch on there. So we'll put a big one there and maybe a smaller one over here. And then we'll do another one somewhere. Don't know where. Maybe right here. Okay, now we can grab some of our twine and add that to our paper clip that comes in the kit. And then we can attach our tag to our box and just paper clip it on like that. And we have a fun little fancy schmancy little tag for our box. All done, well, mostly done with supplies just from the kit. So you could do a box made with this striped card base. You could do it with the other one too. Any of those card bases would work really well for this. But designer paper is much easier to work with making these boxes. And so I'm going to show you quickly a box that I did with the Garden Lane designer paper, which is in the suite that coordinates, one of the 3 suites that coordinates with this kit. It's called Garden Lane Suite. You'll find it on pages 40 through 41 of the annual catalog, and you'll also find it in the online store. So I did this one using the designer paper, the Garden Lane designer paper. Same measurements. I used this piece. This piece here is just a portion of this craft colored card base. And to make that fun little flag at the bottom here, you're just gonna take either end, it doesn't matter which end, you're gonna snip partway up into the middle of that side. And you just want to make sure that this is going straight up the middle, so it's even amounts on this side and on this side. And once you've reached kind of a 1/4 inch, or even if you want to go further, you can go 1/2 inch or whatever, but I just go a 1/4 inch. Once you've reached that, then you can take and connect this corner with the end of that cut. And then the same thing with this side, this corner with the end of the cut. And that's how you get a flagged little banner like that. I did the same thing here. I added the twine to a paper clip, and of course there's only 3 paper clips that come in the kit, so you can add your own silver paper clips at home. Those are easily available at any office supply store. And then I did the other branch piece that comes in the kit on there. So fun little happy birthday boxes. Now I also did a larger box, and with the designer paper option, if you add that into your supplies, you can make these larger ones. This one's made from an 8.5 by 11 piece of designer paper. And of course you can alter the measurements to make different size boxes, but I'm going to show you what those measurements are for this box. We'll just do that with one of the other papers from the kit real quickly, and then I'll point out the other details on that. So, oops, not that one. So if we're going to go ahead and take one of the designer papers from the kit, you just want to cut it down to 8.5 by 11, and then you're going to score at 4 inches, and then at 8 inches. And then in this direction, for the base, you're going to score at 2 inches. Bring it back this way again and start at that 2-inch score line that's now horizontal going this way. And you're going to start there and you're going to score up at 2. Bring it over to the 6-inch mark and score up. Do the same thing we did with the other one. Oh gosh, you know what? Oh, I was going to say I want to use that design, but I already did that, so we're going to just leave that one as is, because we already used that here, but I really liked that. We're going to use the leaf design instead, just to give us a variety of different bags. You can see all the different style papers. Okay, so after you've done that, now remember, this is designer paper, so you just have to run the snail adhesive down. You don't need to use the tear and tape. It's a much thinner paper, so it's easier to work with. And then again, we have the base of our box here, so you'll just want to snip on this side of the score line going up, and on this side. And then you'll squeeze this direction and do the same thing, cutting from this side of the score line and this side of the score line. So we're angle cutting. It just makes it easier to get those tabs at the bottom folded inward without having them stick out. And then of course you'll put the adhesive on 3 of the tabs. It doesn't matter which 3, but the one that does not have the adhesive gets folded in first, and then the opposite side comes together to meet. You try to get those as squared up as possible. And then again, put your bone folder in there. And the bag, this bag's a little bit tougher because it's taller, so you really have to kind of make sure you can get your hand in there and connect those, and then come across this way and this way. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Thank goodness. This is not one of those containers where you have to have exact measurements. Okay, now that I've pressed the bottom, you can see that you can open it up like this or close it, and you can decorate it up however you wish. Now this tag I stamped with the ink that's included in the kit, the Pretty Peacock color. This one here I stamped with Mossy Meadow, which is a coordinating color with the kit. So you can definitely add on different ink colors to your supplies so that you can have lots of different options. And this one here is a very commonly used color, green. It's Old Olive, so that's the color that's right here. And oh, and on this one, you'll notice I have a little gold paper clip. You can get those also in office supply stores too. So if you're wanting to coordinate the gold color around the tag with your paper clip, you could invest in some gold clips like that. And this here, of course, are just 2 little strips cut from this same card base here. And I think that's it. Oh, one more thing to note. The medallion that I stamped from the stamp set, I stamped off a couple times onto some scrap paper. And, oops, there you go. I stamped it off a couple times onto scrap paper and then stamped it on here so that I got a lighter version of that ink. So you can get multiple colored inks just from one ink pad by doing that. That's called stamping off, or sometimes they call it first generation, second generation, third generation type of ink. So I hope that you enjoyed those boxes, and you can see how well those Garden Lane papers coordinate with this kit. We're going to do another project next. It's the scrapbook page layout. To make the pages, I'm going to be using our new In Color pack of 12 by 12 cardstock. This is the 2019 through 21 in colors, and those colors can be found in this designer paper piece that's in the kit. I'll also be using the Seaside Spray ink pad, which coordinates with one of the colors in that paper pack. And along with that, some stamps from the kit, the ink color from the kit, Pretty Peacock, and then these items here, one of the envelopes lined in the Pretty Peacock color, this pattern paper, some of the sequins, and this banner piece. Let's start by stamping on the banner piece. I was looking through the stamps in the kit and thought I could come up with a fun title for a scrapbook page spread, and I saw the words "the best" and "day" from the happy birthday. And so what I'm doing is I'm masking off portions of the stamp so that we don't get ink right next to those sections. And I'm just going to ink up "the best" and "day," and then I'll stamp those down. So we'll start with, since the banner is going to be going this way, this is left, this is right, I'm going to start with "the best." And again, I'm only inking up that portion. If I put the whole stamp in there, then I have to worry about the word "you." And so this mask just allows me to keep the ink from traveling too far into the stamp. And then you pull away the masking tape or washi tape, and you can breathe on it to get it to re-moisten. And then we'll just stamp that down. So now we have part of our title in there. And let's do the same thing with the word "day." Breathe on it and stamp that down. Because the stamps are clear, we can see right through. And now we have "the best day," and I got a little smudge on there. What do you know? The best day for the title of our page. We'll set that aside and go wash our hands. Now it's time to cut all of our pieces. So I've taken my 12 by 12 Pretty Peacock cardstock and I've cut it to 4 1/8 inches wide. And here you can see it's down to the 12-inch mark here, so 12 by 4 1/8. And then I rotated it in the trimmer to get a 5 1/2 inch piece. another 5.5 inch piece, and then this portion here, which should be about 1 inch, is left over. We'll set that aside. The next strip I cut to 4 1/8 inches wide, and I did the same thing except for the second cut. So my first cut is at 5.5 inches. My second cut is at 4 1/8 inches, and that leaves us with a portion that is about 2 3/8 inches. And so this section here I'm actually going to use for my fifth photo mat on the layout, but I'm not sure how long that photo mat is going to be yet. So we're just going to set that aside for now. We're going to take the designer paper piece that came in the kit, and I've already cut between the little sections here. You can see I cut one little strip off here, and then I'm cutting between these sections because there are faint lines on that designer paper that kind of indicate where they should be divided, and it's about a half inch wide for each of those strips. So what I'm doing is I'm just lining up the designer paper on my trimmer so that that line that is on the paper is lined up in the channel, and I'm just slicing through to go along with that little line that was there. For my terracotta tile colored 12 by 12 cardstock, I'm going to trim that at 4 3/4 inches, and I'm going to do 2 strips of that and set that aside. This will be the top color on my page layout, and these will be the base colors. This is the Seaside Spray. And the last thing I'm going to cut is the envelope that comes in the kit. And with that, I think it's easiest to put the flat edge, you could do it either way, put the flat edge right up against your ridge on your paper trimmer and just slice away on either side. And then when you open it up, you have plenty of that pretty peacock printed paper in there to use. And then one more thing that I want to mention before I move on is that I'm going to be using the Versamark ink pad instead of the Seaside Spray that I had mentioned earlier, because I decided I wanted to use both terracotta tile and Seaside Spray coordinating inks, and a Versamark pad will give that to you. You can see here, this is the terracotta tile stamped on terracotta tile once, and then this is second generation, so it's pretty light. And this is Versamark, so it's kind of a mixture in between. I really like that intensity of the ink. So then I stamped the Seaside Spray once and twice, and even though I was using my Stampin' Pierce mat underneath, I did have kind of a little blotchiness on the edge of that stamp. I'm not sure why. When I brought out the Versamark, I had that in-between tone, that intensity that I really liked. So I'll be using the Versamark ink. Now Versamark ink, basically it's a clear ink that intensifies the color of the cardstock. So you can stamp this on any colored cardstock and it'll just deepen the hue in that section where you've stamped. So it looks like you have coordinating inks with all of your colored cardstock. These strips here, I've paired them up. So I have the longest one with the shortest one, and then I have, oh, here we go. This is the longest one. So here are the different pieces that I cut out of my half section of envelope. And I only used 1/2, so I brought the smaller one to the longest one. And when I lay that across my terracotta tile layer here, you can see that I have a connection there that's pretty much perfect. And so I'll be putting those together, and even if there's a little gap in there, that's quite all right. This one will go on the opposite page, and it looks like it has about the same connection there. So I have a nice designer paper strip just cut from the envelope, And you know, when you tape them together, it looks like one continuous strip of designer paper. That's what I'm going to be doing with these strips as well. I'll be connecting them, and I'm going to be using the pattern within to make sure that when I overlap them, they look like they're a continuous flow of designer paper throughout. So let's start putting together the page. And here are our finished pages. You can see there's a little sparkle in there with the sequins that I added inside the center of the medallions. We have 2 strips of designer paper on there. They matched up perfectly, by the way, for both of those pages. And this will be a nice photo mat, the intense color of the pretty peacock. And then if you wanted to, you could add more photos up above in those empty areas on the terracotta tile colors. Oh, and I wanted to mention too, it was really neat. I don't know if you noticed that, but when I stamped this one down, it went onto 2 layers of cardstock there, and it intensified the color on both. So you can have overlapping colors and still have that one stamp image between all of them. So now I want to show you a more decorative version, because I'm going to add in the Woven Threads designer paper and the Woven Threads sequins now to my second layout. So we're integrating the Woven Threads suite of products. I want to share a variety of the designer papers. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting 2 strips that are going to be the base pieces at the very top of my pages. And these are both 4 1/4 inches by 12 inches. And then I've cut 2 other designer papers so far. I'm not sure if I'll need more or not. I'm kind of experimenting on this. This piece here is just a scrap. It's 2 1/2 inches by 12. And I'm going to cut that diagonally so that we have kind of a template for making our triangular pieces. So each of these, you can see they widen at the same amount. They taper the same distance, I should say, as we go up. So we're going to use those as templates. And we're going to put them on top of our 2 layers of designer paper and just kind of get a feel for where we should be marking our paper for trimming. So you can see if we just kind of do alternating, going through here, we're going to make little marks along here, and we're going to cut the designer paper strips so that we're creating kind of this sunshine look. So I'm going to grab my paper or my pencil and start marking away. So when I've done this starburst technique in the past, I've usually cut strips from 12 by 12 sheets of designer paper this way. So I've cut them and then cut them diagonally, cut them diagonally. But the problem with that is that you can't reach into the furthest diagonal, like on this paper here. This one would be, see, it's not going to be long enough. So it's almost better to do it the way that I just showed you. Which will allow you to get your longest pieces in the correct areas, and you have less waste as well. Now I did a couple different patterns of designer paper, so what I'm doing now is I'm getting creative, because if I were to just kind of flip them over and put them down, this side would be all pink and this side would be all blue and kind of that Sahara sand color. So I'm taking this long piece that was, over in here, flipping it over and inserting it there so that I can get both colors on both sides. But you want to start with your longest pieces and then eventually move over, and you can use up the long pieces that you're not using up. But I do want to expose this designer paper that's underneath, so I'm going to have one more strip in here, and then I'll have that designer paper here and in here for my starburst design. So I'm going to start taping them down now. The trick for getting adhesive into corners that are really narrow like that is to just put them next to another piece that has a narrow corner, and or just another piece of paper, and then you can kind of put the adhesive off to the edge that way. I've placed those panels now on my 12 by 12 Rococo Rose cardstock, which comes in that same in color pack of cardstock and coordinates really well with the woven threads paper. I've also done my layout and my label, my title I should say, similarly in that I have a little smudge on there, so have to keep up the the pattern, right? And I've stamped the medallion with the Versamark ink here and there throughout underneath my photo mats, which are the Pretty Peacock cardstock from that pack of cardstock as well. These strips here come from the envelope, just like on my other page layout. And I'm adding these sequins. These are the woven thread sequins because eventually you're going to run out of the sequins that come in the kit and you're going to want more. So to add these sequins, these are added with glue, and I use the fine tip glue pen, my Take Your Pick tool, which has this little gummy end to it, and then I just add a tiny little drop. Now to close and open this fine tip glue, there is a little needle that gets inserted into the applicator. So you'll want to make sure that when you put that back on, that you put it on so that the needle is going down into that narrow little opening. So you'll need your reading glasses. So we'll just go ahead and add these little drops of glue to the centers of my medallions. And now I'm going to take my cap and I'm going to put my finger on the back side and just insert, and it'll find its way if it's a clear opening, and then you'll just screw that back on, and you want to store this upright so it doesn't get clogged. Now if you find that this gets clogged over time, you can take this whole top portion, and because it's water soluble, I just stick this into a little bowl of warm water, and eventually it cleans itself out so it's ready to go again. Okay, so now let's take that Take Your Pick tool, and I've got the cap off, so I've got the little gummy end exposed, and I'm just going to pick up sequins from my container and add them into the centers of my medallions here, making sure that I use my finger as well to remove it, because it's a very sticky little gummy thing that helps to hold it there, but then you want to make sure you can release it too. And with this method and these tools, you have a ton of sequins that you can use. And I added one more little aspect to the pages. These ribbons are ribbons in our new in colors, so of course they coordinate with the Woven Threads suite, and you can see that there's like that crumb cake color in there and then all of those other colors. So I took the Seaside Spray color, the blue one, and I added it between this envelope designer paper from the kit, the little strip I had there, and then the top portion. So I'm going to show you how I did that. It was really simple. So I just felt it needed a little bit more, especially a little bit more crumb cake. I didn't think it had enough. So we're just going to add this, oops, got a little cat hair there. We're just going to add this strip of tear and tape adhesive right along here. And again, you just put it on there and tear it off when you're done. And peel off the release paper, and then you just line it up, and I believe I have it, I'm going to make sure I have it at the same spot as on my other page, and you just kind of stretch it out, add it down, and press firmly. And I have it so I cut off about, I don't know, 12.5 inches, so I have a little extra on each end, and then I just flip it over and add my snips to cut it off. And then we have our finished second layout, but there's a third. Okay, so here are the two other pages, which I think I love them a little bit more. Hope that's okay. But now we have a third set of pages, and I've already begun creating them. So I'll show you what I have so far. I took and made a layout using the Come Sail Away designer paper. Yes, there's a third set of designer paper that coordinates with this kit, and it's all sailing themed, nautical themed designs. So I took 2 of those papers that are 12 by 4¼ and I put them back to back. So this time I didn't have a base piece, but I put them back to back, and I knew I was going to use every single strip. So by putting them back to back, so blue against blue or green against green, and doing the same technique I did where I measured using these triangular strips, I put little marks along there. Then I cut them out and I opened them up and flipped them back and forth so that I had this alternating design. Plus, doing it this way, you can see that my compass in here always points north on all of those little areas. So, oh, and then of course they look like rays of sun, right? So I know there's not a green sun, but let's just say there is, because you have a circle that's in your kit. It's a stitched little circle here, stitched edge I should call it. So I added that in the center to give it kind of a little sunshine look, put the sailboat with dimensionals off to the side. And then my photo mats are slightly different because I actually love adding lots of photos to my pages. So instead of putting a little decorative strip here, I put one along the bottom of the page, and I put more photo mats on here, reaching up into the starburst design here. You can see I have 3 on this side. I wanted some Night of Navy coloring and Old Olive at the bottom. Oops, sorry, at the bottom. So I stamped a shell to go next to my Old Olive green strip there. And now I'm going to show you another little shell stamped over here. And I'm hoping this will work. I did a little practice one. I'll show you the practice one. So I've got a practice little design here, and I stamped this without doing official masking techniques. I'll just show you what I did here. So I stamped, and then without re-inking, I stamped again as if that little shell was laying down next to it. I'm just breathing on it to re-moisten the ink a bit. And I'm putting lots of pressure on the left side, but not as much on the right. And you can see it looks like I have 2 shells next to each other, one a little further back behind, and they're kind of overlapped. So the last thing that I want to add to this page, actually there's 2 other little things, but one of them has both of them on there. So what I've done with the little wheel, as you can see, is I've given it a little pattern. The way that I did that is, again, not needing to have any extra ink colors except the Versamark ink. I stamped the medallion right on top of the wheel. So it looked like this, and then once I stamped it down, it gave it a real textury look. I also added these fun accents, these metallic accents that come in gold, silver, and copper. There's lots more in a pack, but this is just one little strip from that pack. And I'm going to add that right here on my page layout. We have all kinds of sounds going on during this video. I'm so sorry, you guys. It's summer. My family is home. I think that's outside. Anyways, not even sure if you can hear it, but we have this bell sound or something. So I'm going to add that right there. And then because I have that fun gold accent there, I thought it would be nice, carry over more of the gold that's in those labels too, to just add a couple more of these little guys next to the shells at the very bottoms of those pages, just to kind of liven it up a little bit more. And that is that one. That's my favorite. And I lied, by the way, I did use 2 different color inks. I used the Versamark and I used Night of Navy. All right, now we have some cards to make. My last projects, which are cards, are going to focus on that last suite, the Come Sail Away suite. I've already introduced you to some of the designer paper from that pack. But first of all, I want to start with just a card using elements of the kit, and then I'm going to bring you more items from that particular suite. So let's say we decided to take this wheel, the ship's wheel here, and leave it off the card, because actually that card without the wheel looks beautiful, right? So we're going to take that extra wheel, we're going to stamp it again with the medallion stamp and the Versamark ink to give it that texture. And of course we're going to pop that up on dimensionals. And this piece here, this is the negative from the 3 wheels. We're going to put that going horizontally across a horizontal card. So this will be our card. We're going to place it across here, trim off the ends, and then we're going to accent it with some of the twine, some of those metal accents. Those are beautiful. We're going to use the copper one this time. And then we're going to put our sentiment into 2 of the circle areas from our wheels. So we're going to put this one right in the middle here, and we're going to put sentiments here. Now to do that, we're going to cut our sentiment in half. Oh my gosh. Have you seen me do this before? You can actually cut them in half, and you can still line them up because, of course, they're totally clear stamps. So if you wanted to use the Hello Friend together again later on, you could totally stamp them together next to each other again later on. But I'm just trimming around it really close so that we don't have that extra rubber there. And now I have 2 separate stamps. It makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to do the masking that way. It doesn't get as messy. And I can stamp my 2 sentiments further away from each other, especially on a card like this. And there is that finished card. Another one that I made is using some of the Memories and More cards, the Sail Away Memories and More card pack, which is great for making quick cards or doing some scrapbooking. It comes with some 3x4 pieces. Now I only have a half a pack here, so there's twice as many that you get in this pack, but you can see that there's lots of different designs for scrapbooking, for card making. There's sheets of stickers in there. There's some laser cut paper. Again, this is a half a pack, so there's twice as many that I'm showing you. And some 4x6 pieces. And so what you do is you pair those together with Memories and More cards and envelopes, which you can buy separately. Actually, together in a pack, there's the 2 different sizes, but this is a separate item from this. And then these Sail Away trinkets, which are little ship's wheels and anchors. They're super cute. I'm bringing in the Night of Navy ink again and some of my quick to add glue dots. And I'm going to show you another version of this card using the Memories and More pack. So let's just flip this one over here. So here's another version, and it's not quite done yet because instead of twine going across here, I'm going to add one of these trinkets. So I'm just going to quickly put on one of these glue dots like that. Slip it underneath here and add that little anchor piece to there as a fun little accent. And now I have the silver metallic accent on there. I have the anchor on there. Same words stamped, but in Night of Navy. This is the strip from the kit, the wheel from the kit stamped with the medallion again. And then this background piece here is just one of the 4x6 cards that come in the pack, and I just trimmed it top and bottom. And I also trimmed off a little bit from each of the sides of this piece because it was a little bit longer than 6 inches, so it extended beyond. I wanted it to fit. So there we have a second card. Now if we go a little further, I did another card that's 4x6. I took one of the stencils in the pack, added the sailboat from the kit, the light green circle from the kit, the stamp from the kit, and the sequins. I stamped it onto one of the stickers. So again, these Memories and More packs come with stickers. So I used the olive one right here and stamped Happy Birthday with Night of Navy. This image again comes from the Paper Pumpkin kit. Placed the sailboat from the Paper Pumpkin kit up on dimensionals and then added those self-adhesive sequins. So there's a third card. My fourth card is the smaller version, and so it uses those 3x4 layers. This has got the clouds from the kit, it's got some twine from the kit, and it also has the stamp from the kit, the stamp image. But I used a sticker from the Memories and More card pack, the card, which has a sailboat, a matching sailboat on it from the card pack, and then these 2 are stickers that also came in the card pack, along with one of the trinkets added with a glue dot. And my fifth card is another small one. This one used the twine from the kit, the banner, one of the sequins. And then it's using a new stamp image, and that stamp image, which I stamped in crumb cake ink, comes from the Sailing Home, which is a coordinating stamp set. It's in that suite of products from the Come Sail Away suite. So you can, add even more images to what you have in your kit and have some fun different cards there. Now, I stopped the camera briefly because when I made that second card, or I showed you that second card, the anchor just didn't seem right in that spot down here. So I've added some twine to it. And then I'm going to bring in those quick to add glue dots again. You can use the glue dots that come in your kit though. No need to get these. I just find them easier. And then we're just going to add that right up here because I think it balances out the card a little bit better now. Yay! Now that you've watched my video, I hope that you can see that there's so much more to these kits than meets the eye. With just a few extra supplies and some imagination, you can go beyond and make so much more with these super affordable kits. I hope you gained some inspiration from what I've shared. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can catch more paper pumpkin videos that I've shared using past kits and more that I'll share with future kits. Also, be sure to visit my website at stampyourartout.com so that you can view close-up photos of all the projects, see photos of other paper pumpkin kit ideas in future and past posts, and see many other great ideas that I share using Stampin' Up! Products. You'll find these links in my description below. And to get spoiled with extra goodies like gifts, prizes, and extra exclusive paper pumpkin project ideas, get your subscription started with me as your demonstrator. I hope that you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.